All right, it's 5 o'clock. I'm gonna call today the April 7th DRB meeting to order. We're gonna go through the items listed on the agenda, the order they're listed. Do one application withdrawal tonight. That is the application for 63 Walnut Street. So if you're here to speak on that item, it's been withdrawn. The first item on our agenda is ZP 26-12, 436 Riverside Avenue. Doug Gillette and Amerigo Real Estate Company, redevelopment of former Baker site into U-Haul facility. Good evening to you both. We'd like you to raise your right hand. And anyone else who wants to be heard on this, do you swear the testimony you're about to give is true and correct? Aims and penalties of perjury. You don't do. Put your hand up. Say yeah, okay. So I'll let you, why don't you introduce yourselves, then just give us a brief overview of the project, explain what you're doing. We obviously have the sort fairly in depth, but go ahead and walk us through what you're doing.
First of all, I'm Dr. Gillette from the Development Group, Civil Engineers. Jeff Payne, representative of U-Haul. So, as you said, this is a project at 436 Riverside Ave, the former site of Coffee Cup Bakery, which has long since been gone, and now it's a vacant lot. It's a 2-acre site in the Neighborhood Activities Center Riverside zoning district. Portion of the site falls in the steep slope overlay district, and it's in the design review overlay district as well. So this is a self-serve, self-storage facility. It's about 30,000 square foot footprint, 2 stories. As you can see, it's got 2 accesses off of Riverside Ave. Both are ingress and egress. The main entry into the building is on the backside of the building. So clients will come in either entrance and they can park outside, or typically they can drive in to the building and go to their storage unit.
Site's currently all concrete, generally.
Almost all concrete, gravel.
But then you're taking down everything. Is there anything still standing on the site, or is it?
There's some backs of some of the old buildings that remain attracting. Somewhat as, retaining walls to the steeper slope to the south. But for the most part, it's totally vacant at this point. As we're talking about that, we are proposing, because of the steep slope at the south end of the site, where there are existing foundations, we'll be building a new retaining wall along the entire length, designed by a structural engineer. And that's almost complete. We don't intend on disturbing the slope, with one minor exception at the very southeast corner of the site where the cursor is, if you can see that.
You do have a pointer too in front of you, if that's helpful.
Yes.
Push the button.
So right there, it's a bit of an embankment that we're going to cut into. And that's really just to facilitate circulation around the site. The fire department asked that we look at their truck turning templates and make sure that all of the trucks could navigate the site, which they can. But it did require that this corner be bumped out a little bit.
I have a question for Mary. Mary, when we looked at other stuff on Riverside Avenue, we've often asked for a geotechnical review. I feel like we did that. Is that something we got?
This is actually a requirement for this because they're cutting into the steep slopes. I have noted on one plan that there was a geotechnical analysis done in 2024. It hasn't been provided to us. So it's a requirement, if they're cutting into the slope, that they have an analysis done by a geotechnical engineer.
So the geotechnical study done before was primarily for the building structure itself. But there is a new geotechnical study underway for that corner of the building. And that's in cooperation with a structural engineer doing retaining wall design. So they're working together to ensure that that one corner we pointed to was not an issue. So we'll expect that any day now. Yesterday. There is a condition of approval that we're fine with, saying that that has to be submitted and approved prior to zoning permit being issued or prior to construction. So that's on the way.
I remember that was all tie up with one of the other properties.
Back to that retaining wall. Do you know if you have groundwater bleeding out of that base of that bank? You've never seen that?
Is it all going to be a new wall, or is it any portions of wall that are existing that you're keeping?
There may be portions. There's one plan that shows the existing and new. In some areas, we are actually in the front of some of those old walls. So we'll just, if they're not conflicting with the new excavation for footings and such, we'll just leave them in place. There's no reason to really take them down. They likely will be buried though. The new wall's slightly higher, so they may stay, but you won't see them. But there's no reason to remove them if they're not conflicting.
And obviously there will be like means for surface water to get through and onto your rear parking lot captured by the drainage system.
I haven't seen the wall design, but I'm assuming there's we poles. Yeah. At the base of the wall, everything runs to the center of the rear paved area. So there's a series of catch basins that collect the water. So water drips from the base of the retaining wall toward the building and away from the building as well. And then a series of basins collected. So right now, stormwater treatment's non-existent. 2 catch basins on the site. They collect water and send it to the Riverside collection system. Or it just sheets across the site over the sidewalk along Riverside Ave to the road gutter system. So we're providing substantially more pre-treatment and treatment to reduce the flow dramatically. So this project needs a state stormwater permit, and we recently applied for a city post-construction stormwater permit. So that's under review as well.
Now, are you you're tying into existing, looks like structured DMH1, and that goes across Riverside to the property on the other side. So that's all your discharge down there. Does that need improvement at all? We need to fortify?
At the discharge point?
Yeah.
No.
And is that city owned or is the city easement? I mean, I know other side of Riverside has taken all the stormwater generated from the whole area. It just
Right.
discharges it down there.
Yeah.
And it has caused other properties has caused some erosion.
There's
Not department, right?
Yeah, there's 2 major stormwater pipe crossings across Riverside now. We've distributed our stormwater runoff so that they get a will flow. I don't know if it's really quite that now, but like I said, we've got outlet structures that'll significantly reduce that peak flow
Right.
Into the system. I don't know the answer to your question as far as whether the city has an official easement to the discharge point down toward the Salmon Home and
Can you talk a little bit about security? Like Robert say, no unsafe personnel. There's no fencing. I don't think, right? Lights, cameras.
Yeah, we have a security system, camera system there that is monitored 24/7. We'll have adequate lighting to the building, just nothing that projects into the bank. Because of the neighbors and we sent a photometrics of that, we have that. But we have access into the building, we have a car swipe system, which is 24-hour monitoring system. And our 24-hour system is not for all customers. I kind of want to take that's not open for everybody. It's pharmaceuticals, construction guys, you got to get in there at certain hours. we limit who has 24-hour access to it. But we're monitoring the cameras, they go to our manager, during the day, in the evening, and on the monitoring system in Phoenix, which will look at the cameras. If they see somebody, they contact the police. We don't like fences, we try not to use fences.
Can you walk me through so the pedestrian access is primarily on the side of the building through that, or what's the pedestrian access? Or is primarily through that north?
At the back, generally, we do have on access on that,
Yeah.
pedestrian access that will be accessible. But for people moving in and moving out, it's on the rear of the building.
So, so if somebody was using it, like walking or biking, they're basically expected to walk through I didn't see any walkways or anything, so there's.
They can enter the front of the building.
Okay.
There's a door.
And there's a single door?
It's a single door, right, it's not for moving in and moving out. But it would be access to the units. And again, that would be on a card swipe security card systems.
It does, the one thing I will say is it kind of blends into the front of the building, like it definitely feels like an afterthought for compared to a security.
And I think it has an awning on it.
Yeah.
So it kind of frames that in. And again, most people moving in and moving out are moving in with the being involved. 99% of the people will be accessing probably from the back of the building.
And then, so I know one of the items that was outstanding was the bike parking. Have you had any more thoughts on where that'll be placed? Yep.
What plan would you like?
This is fine, kind of tiny, but against the building back here, there's a concrete pad. And various doors, but on the left hand or west side, right where my pointer is, there will be a bike rack or outside short-term parking, bike parking, and then there'll be a space inside the building for long-term in one of the main door entries. So there's somebody like, normally you were saying people would pull in with their cars, so it would be like somebody with that need to do. Right, somebody needed to pick up something small and they brought their bike, they could park their bike in the bike rack and go in and pick up. That is on a newer plan. I think the plan set Mary has is.
This was the first plan set.
Yeah, so it's on there now and will be part of the final plan approval set.
I've got a couple of questions.
Yep.
The orange squares on the outside of the building, are those just graphics or those,
Yes,
like, it looks like they're intended to replicate something you could open.
They're fake doors. They're fake. Right, yeah.
Why?
To show that it's a storage facility.
Okay.
Otherwise, we don't show storage. Doesn't look like a storage facility. It's our advertising, it's our branding, it's our color. We do this on all of our buildings.
Second, with the windows, it was set the faux second floor.
The windows on, yeah, the windows the same type of thing, be able to see in. You can see storage units.
You can see in those items.
the windows are real.
Windows are real, but there is no second floor. It looks like there's a second floor.
There was a second.
There is-
there's a second.
This is 2 stories.
The second floor is different kind of storage where you're not driving in.
No, same type of storage. We have an elevator.
Elevator, gotcha.
There's what, 500-ish units?
Yeah, I saw the 500 number. I was trying to figure out how you fit that in that space, but I get it now. It's 2 floors.
And then I couldn't really tell parking, I mean, I understand the concept of pulling behind the building, but is there parking behind the building? Or is it just like one long lane?
Just 5.
There's 4 or 5 parking spots. You want to park outside and go in, walk into the building.
For 500.
And we also have 2 drive-in spots where they actually drive into the building to unload. 500 is not, in our industry, is not a very busy location.
But so you're not, like, if multiple people were coming at the same time to load and unload, are they parking like along the back of the building? Are they pulling into the parking spaces? Are they driving into the building?
Oh, that,
All of the above.
So we can drive into the building,
Which would
pull up to their unit, unload.
Well, pull into a loading area on the interior.
on the interior.
Right, and then they can
How many-
unload their stuff.
How many spots on the inside? How many spots are there on the inside of this thing?
There's two on the inside. And then we also have a loading pad outside, the concrete loading pad, and they can enter through there with a sliding door. So they can.
How many cars? How many cars can be on site loading and unloading at the same time?
You jump from elevations to like a floor plan, is this adequate to show where the vehicles will pull up?
Yeah, not with my old eyes. That's fine.
I don't know what that is.
It's hard to see.
There's 5 exterior parking spaces and then the 2 inside.
So 7.
One of which is him.
And are those accommodating cars or are they accommodating your 20 foot?
And what is your average trips per day show? The average trip per day.
I need vehicle trip ends per day.
ID.
Yeah.
So you
Peak hour AM 6 vehicles an hour. PM peak hour 9 vehicles per hour.
She said 90 trip ends.
Right, that's 45 people coming and going, right? You kind of both places.
And that's based on, that's experience right?
No, IT trip generation, national folks that tell us based on, based on storage buildings of this type.
So as soon as you come in, unload, you're there for 20 minutes, then you leave.
Basically,
So the AM peak hour was 6.
yes.
got 77 spots.
But you're at the maximum
Well, that
parking
is
allowed, right?
this.
Allowed per the city.
Yeah.
I don't know that.
I think in the staff report, I remember,
Right, I think we just pick what typical facility of this nature is, can accommodate comfortably. Because we haven't gotten feedback from the city, that's. Inadequacy of.
Just out of curiosity, is your other U-Haul facility on Riverside gonna change at all?
Exterior, no, we're doing some renovation there on the interior. Because we're gonna use that as, we're gonna run, this new location is an unmanned location.
Right.
So we will be, the customer will go to the existing Riverside location to do their contract and everything. So that's there, I think that will send. But the lot layout of the new location is not changing at all. I mean, of the old location, I'm sorry, the existing location, yeah.
Mary, so according to the staff report, so 6 would be the maximum allowable off-street parking spaces for the location. How does that doesn't count the interior
Correct.
spaces, okay, just exterior.
Is there any consideration to converting some of those units to a donut place that makes crawlers?
We can certainly rent a unit.
It balanced out the manure smell.
You get the crawler comment.
I'm sure they do.
Is there anyone here in the audience or online speak on this application?
Both. I know we have a representative from the city here to speak.
Yeah,
Thank you, Mary. I'm also positioned, I actually had a comment that was answered, so I have no other comment.
okay, great. Thank you.
Okay. Where did she go? I have Sharon Busher with her hand up.
Great. Go ahead, Sharon.
Hi, good afternoon. Thank you for taking my comments. U-Haul came to, this is in Ward 1, and U-Haul came to the Ward 1 NPA, so the ward was aware of this project. And I don't recall, I think that some of the things that you've addressed, as far as number of trips and impact on traffic on Riverside were brought up. The thing that you all know, and I think the applicant over time has gotten educated, is that this is not just the average steep slope. Riverside Avenue is complicated because of the history of the fact that the slopes aren't just all dirt and tree roots, but they were infilled with some, like there was an old landfill along there. So the stability of the slope is more in question. So I'm glad you asked about the geotechnical analysis, and I was happy to hear that actually there's a new analysis being done for that corner. I know it's a small portion, but it's important. And then I was also equally happy to hear the discussion about how the stormwater would be collected, because as I said, Riverside is complicated. So it's not only the steep slope on one side, it is the runoff that impacts the land across the street and has caused real damage to those properties. And I know that we all got educated when a person who lives in Ward 1, Paul Bierman, did some studies, and they were published in the Free Press. And then there was a more serious focus on the street. So my comments were to make sure that before anything proceeded as far as going into that bank of the steep slope, that the geotechnical analysis would be in hand, so there'd be no surprises. Even though it's a small impact, I think it's significant that we have what we need in order to protect not only everyone around, but also the U-Haul who's creating a structure, and you want that to be safe for people and for their belongings that are being stored there. So those were my comments. I am going to say something that I was very sad. If you've gone by the site, you know, the Coffee Cup Bakery, it's a huge site. And for me, this city missed an opportunity because now we're storing stuff and we could have housed people. And I just am very sad that we couldn't find a way to make that happen. So thank you.
Thank you. Nobody else online?
If anyone else would like to speak, would you raise your hand, please? Seeing none.
I think we'll close the hearing on this. We'll deliberate on this tonight. Thank you both.
Okay, no, thank you all. Thank you very much.
The next item on our agenda is ZP 26-2, Z8E 26-2, 108 South Winooski, L&M Properties, Merrill Jarvis, appeal of administrative denial for after the fact installation of a chain link fence.
I own.
Hello, everybody. Evening, I'm Merrill Jarvis.
Yep, hold on. Can you raise your right hand, please? Do you swear the testimony you're about to give is true and correct on aims and is correct?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, thank you. So before you get started, this is an appeal of a denial. And we ask that the city present the basis for the denial first before the appellant explains to us why it's incorrect. So Kirk, is this yours?
Correct, yes.
Walk us through it.
All right, so zoning permit application ZP-25-620 was initially submitted on December 15, 2025. Following an initial assessment and notation of additional necessary application materials, it was made complete on January 5, 2026. The application was filed following the issuance of a notice of violation issued for the unpermitted chain link fence and gate on November 20th, 2025. That notice of violation was not appealed. Following completion of the application, it was reviewed for compliance with standards outlined in Article 14 of the city ordinances. Ultimately, the application was denied on January 22nd, 2025 for the following reasons. The property is located within the FD5 zoning district. The proposed chain link fence and gate are located within the first lot layer of the property. Within the first lot layer in the FD5 zoning district, fencing is limited to 4 feet in height, and chain link is a prohibited material per Article 14.6.8BVB of the CDOs.
And without, it was the danger of stating the obvious, this is the same issue we've confronted on 3 or 4 properties now downtown. Ronald McDonald's, the other one on Cherry Street,
Simon's downtown.
Simon's, and this.
I believe. I don't have personal experience with those other cases, but I think they're not.
For Mary and Scott. Okay. Jarvis, fire away.
Larissa will speak here.
Okay.
We
Your
are
turn.
here to
Fire away.
ask for permission to keep that temporary fence because we do have major security and liability reasons to have that fence. It was like an emergency situation. We have plans for that building to sell it, and if not to sell it, maybe to rethink and reopening the theater again. However, every single time when we do want to go to the building, or when we are scheduling the meeting with potential buyers, we always dealt with we were always dealing with homeless people being in front of the door, blocking the door, and not only blocking but being like verbally aggressive, sometimes by like physical aggression was never involved, but like verbal aggression. And we would always have to call the police. Most of the time, police would not come because we're not the only ones in this town with the issues. And it was like a major concern. Needles all over, of course, like probably most of you know, that's a common issue everywhere in not only Burlington, but Williston, Colchester, every small town. And it's not a security issue just for us. It's for the trespass, for the people that walk by, because I'll show you pictures in a second. Probably you already saw it. But at some point, even the sidewalk was blocked with like needles, and entire housing was planted right there in the middle of the sidewalk. Thank you. Also, we had to replace the front doors multiple times until we did take I understand we are guilty for planting that fence without the permission first. I did not know personally. Meryl told me afterwards. But in less than a month, we had to change twice the front door, which is not cheap. And the reason we closed that business is because it was not making money. It was, if something was going down into closer to bankruptcy. So for that, we had to close the business. After we closed it, the expenses were as nearly like as high as when the business was open. Just replacing the windows and paying for the cleanup and many I don't know, people would graffiti the front windows and the walls and the doors, and I would say it was like, again, dangerous to just walk by, not even to go into the building. Because going into the building by myself, I tried a couple of times, and it was impossible. I had to wait across the street in the parking lot for the police, and they were able to show up an hour later. By that time I left because I'm like, I can't wait here until somebody shows up to assist me to go into the building, take a broom. So that is the main reason, the security.
I think all of us on the board understand that and have confronted this very issue a number of times. We've asked, I think, the planning commission to take a look at this requirement. We understand the desire. I certainly know what the front entrance to this building has looked like. Kirk, remind me, there's a 20% bonus for fences in the front in the FD5 district we can approve if they're not chain link, is that right?
We need to double check that.
And also
They
this,
have it back here.
it's just temporary, because of course we don't wanna keep it forever. It's like a temporary fence, because like when the building looks the way it is, it's hard to schedule any meetings with somebody to show the building, because you never know what you're gonna see when you get there. It's like you schedule a meeting, you get there and you see this, very nice.
Yeah, is the entrances that face Winooski Avenue, is that your main where you enter and exit the building now? There's no other door on the north?
No, that is the main entrance. There are other exit doors, but those are like emergency exit doors from the theater, not like from the, yeah, fire.
Out of curiosity, because we haven't seen the fence issue before, and this is a question for staff. We haven't seen the fence issue before in like covered kind of walkways. If it went all the way up, would it still be a fence or would it be a wall?
Yeah, if they brick the whole thing over, just be a wall.
Or I mean, plywood.
Yeah.
Covered with the tarp.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it would be considered a fence if it was completely fixed. It would be more of a gate at that point. Still though, I don't believe it would be able to be chained. Like it would need to be.
I've seen other ones. I mean, Patagonia has one, I think Pine Rock across the street on one of their entrances has one, just a black fence, metal
We did see
gate, metal
the
gate.
Yeah, that's full size.
Full size of the,
proposed fences. Those are so expensive for one. Second, those, it's, even if let's say to invest the money and put one of those, is when you are planning on having it permanently, but this is just temporary. It's not like a permanent fence.
problem is we're not allowed to authorize it. So we're totally receptive to where you're going. So we'd love to help, but we
I
can't,
can't do it.
we can only.
I can only do it.
The ordinance doesn't allow us.
And it doesn't allow for us to provide any waiver for security or safety reasons, which is what we've asked planning commission to at least consider, and they haven't been changed. So
Planning commission has allowed a fence like this in a loading dock area because of the same reason, being used for the various purposes of meals. So that was one thing they allowed, the loading dock area to be fenced like this, but this is not that. I wouldn't call this loading.
Have something to say, sure. Well, the Roxy is not the only place with a chain link fence downtown. I have pictures here of chain link fences and other unapproved, boarding up buildings downtown that are no different than Roxy, except maybe they're owned by the state or the city of Burlington. And that's not fair that one person gets to have a chain link fence and somebody else doesn't. Memorial Auditorium surrounded by 300-400 feet of chain link fence. There's no construction going on there or anything. It's just to protect it from the people graffitiing the building, like sleeping on the steps like me. The building next to bus terminal is surrounded by a fence, chain link fence, and boarded up, which is unapproved by the city. The site for the cathedral, the old cathedral, is all chain link fence around it. There's no construction or anything going on there either. Every school in Burlington, their playgrounds are surrounded by a chain link fence. You know, there's chain link fences all over. I have one trying to protect my building, trying to protect my customers, trying to protect my wife. Anybody that comes in and wants to buy or purchase the building, it's just a scary situation downtown. And it's not fair that some people get to do it and other people don't. Now, the law or your ordinances should be equal across the slate.
Would encourage you to make that argument to the planning commission. We can't change the ordinance ourselves. We understand your argument. Some of those are exceptions or pre-existing fences. So there are reasons that,
Research.
but we can't, we're not gonna be able to approve this based on the ordinance. as it
Time
is.
of interview address resolution.
Sharon, I think you may be
I
there.
just muted her.
We certainly understand,
Yeah,
and
but what looks better? Bunch of people sleeping on my steps with needles and feces and rotten food and mattresses. Or a nice clean looking,
I can encourage you to explore the other ways other than this fence, because I can't approve this fence to prevent that. And I share your frustration because my office is around the corner and I've had a similar experience. And, you know, we have a parking lot problem and we can't fence it in. And I understand that's frustration for you. It's frustration for me. I'm sure Jeff at his office has had the same experience. And there are some other options. They are more expensive. Also, I think there's been some success that people have had with a 5-foot fence, which if it's not chain link, a 5-foot, you know, metal post fence is not particularly easy to get over. I think people would struggle to do that. It's not impossible, but it's certainly not easy. I'd climb over a 5-foot fence before, not done it very well.
those are what,
Because of the half round, that might.
yeah,
that might
it's
work
a
better.
secure structure for them out of the rain.
But, and you have every right to be frustrated at the ordinance. It's something that wasn't contemplated when the ordinance was issued. But it has plain language associated with it that we've not been able to get around. So, is there anyone in the audience who wants to speak on this?
If you'd like to speak, please raise your hand. Seeing none.
Well, I appreciate it. We understand what you're going through. I am gonna close the hearing so we can move on to the next item. But we understand it. We will talk about how we craft our decision after this. So thank you, folks. Appreciate it.
And one more thing, if we cover the fence with the tarp, will still be considered a fence?
We can't
But if
answer
you
that
can, if
because
you can see it.
that would be a separate issue. We can only decide what's in front of us. I think there's other things that you could do that would make it a fence, perhaps other materials or other ways to construct that. I would explore that with staff
Okay,
because they might be able to provide you some other guidance in the ordinance that would help you.
that'll be great.
Thank you.
You're very fine.
Thank you.
The next item on our agenda, 63 Walnut, has been withdrawn. So the next item is 86 Lakeview Terrace, CP 26.64. Krishna and Lata. I have it. And Mike. You raised your hand on there. You swear the testimony you're about to give is true and correct and contains the penalties of perjury. And this is an application for the construction of a single family residence at ADU on vacant lot. With plans, someone wants to just walk us through quickly what you're doing to the end of that.
Sure, single family residence with an ADU. It's a 50 by 100 foot undeveloped lot. Rarity in Burlington, especially in the more closer to downtown area on Lakeview Terrace. It's along the east side of the roadway. The plan is to have a fairly regular size structure that is similar dimensions to other structures along the street. Based on the site plan, you can see that the house is towards the south side of the lot. Driveway, single lane driveway on the north side of the lot that accesses a single bay garage with ADU above it. Detached structure in the rear of the lot. yards focused toward the south side. Could we maybe go to the perspectives? Okay.
Sure. You can keep talking.
Okay. It's an offset, peak. So the different planes of the rooftop don't meet in a right line that's traditional. So it gives it a little bit of a more contemporary look. One of the goals was to create a large surface for rooftop solar. Is one of the reasons for that. So there's going to be a solar array proposed on the southern roof of both the main structure and the accessory structure. Smaller plane on the north side. The goal is high efficiency. We're going to be meeting all the regular energy requirements for the city of Burlington. The driveway is going to be use grass pavers with loose gravel infill, so it will be pervious surface on the end on the drive and parking court. High quality, high efficiency windows, installation, mini split, cold weather climate heat pumps for the heating and cooling. There were a number of items that were discussed during the EAB hearing that we've addressed, including separation of the walkway to the ADU. We did provide specific locations for all light locations, appurtenances on the outside of the facades, on the building elevations, fence, mailboxes, light fixtures. But that's really
Bicycle parking.
bicycle parking would be on the inside of the garage, and the site plan shows, or the floor plan of the garage shows that. Garbage and receptacle, recycling receptacles will be held on the inside. There's an exterior Bilco areaway for access to the basement of the main structure.
Are the condensers placed on the back of the buildings? Is that what I see?
Yep, there's one.
One for each building, or?
Right now, we're showing one for each building, which would require manifold on the inside to go to the different heads. To be honest, the construction manager hasn't finalized the details for the heating and cooling system. So that is an oversized unit.
Yeah, the one would at least have to be, it's gonna be a full house.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you're going from basically 100% pervious to now impervious. Have you been to the city about stormwater management? Are you gonna?
We meet the requirements for coverages.
You do.
One of our conditions will be to file both the road prevention and control application, as well as the residential stormwater application. Both of those applications are pretty much completed and ready to submit, but we're just wait until after we got through the hearing to make sure there wasn't any changes required.
But for the grading, are you just assuming you're gonna sheet everything down the driveway to the street, or is there opportunity to try to infiltrate next to the driveway into gardens or anything like that?
Pervious on the driveway, right?
Yeah, the driveway is pervious. We are thinking that so most of the impervious surface is gonna be the roots. And it's likely that those will be captured and brought into the storm drain system.
Yep.
The slope, the site slopes from east to west. So it's a fairly flat site, but you can see that there's gonna be a high point to the rear, to the northeast corner of the garage.
Right.
And then water will maneuver through a channel, a low, very subtle swale on both sides of the property. My guess is that it's a sandy site, it's a sandy area, there's not gonna be very much.
I don't think you're gonna have a problem.
Anybody in the audience here to speak on this project?
If you'd like to speak, raise your hand. Seeing none.
You were talking about the condenser, and I didn't quite hear what your concerns about the condenser on the back of the ADU was.
I was wondering where they were placed, so that whether there was someone out of view of the street and the neighbors, and they're right on the back of each building.
And would that be close to we live behind? And I was just wondering about the noise. Is it an air compressor or is it a?
No, those compressors are, I think you can answer them, they're pretty quiet, it's just the fan going around.
Okay.
This is heat pump condensers.
Okay. Any other questions from the board? With that, I will close the application. Project.
Thank you.
Thank you. A grandson will do this.
Would you raise your right hand, please?
Yes.
You swear the testimony you're about to give is true and correct and contains the penalty of perjury.
I do.
So a couple of things. One, just orient us to this project. The staff report talks about how I think many of these stormwater improvements were already on a prior project, but weren't built. And then there's some other stuff in the staff report that was indicated as perhaps not yet provided. Has that all been provided or something?
No, okay, so first I have to look this up, actually. We came before this board for the similar site project, except back in 2020.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, that was for a similar site project, but it included Performing Arts Center, which was extremely controversial and
Doesn't move forward.
yeah, it didn't finish until 2024. So the plan you see is pretty similar from the site point of view. And then second question, AJ. Yeah, unfortunately, my apologies. I didn't see the site report that Kurt pulled me up. He did again last week, so we didn't respond yet to a couple of things that are missing. Which we have. I've got some of those, and we've got the rest of them together. But there are some missing items. I've noted the staff report.
Is there a particular plan you'd like to display?
I mean, this is a good starting one, but this is existing conditions, and so it's two lots. There's 266 over on this side, and then on the north end, the 180 lot. Used together, and there's a connector in between, which you can follow my there it is. A connector in between that put in to kind of merge the functions, let people go between those two lots. So things are somewhat shared, including when we looked at stormwater for this site, it really had to be shared because I just don't have elevation and space to do anything. The other soils are where they're clay, silty soils. So we're with Burton and created that. So we'll get a gravel wetland in this location, a gravel wetland back here, and then a third one that was not part of the previous. This is all part of the 3 acre compliance and the stormwater requirements. In terms of the stormwater management, for the city purposes, we targeted water quality and provides a really almost site-wide water quality improvement. For the city, that was for the state purposes. The city purposes, I know that there's flow considerations. We did channel connection requirements going to have for this whole site, so really looking very good for peak flow mitigation, which is pretty important for if you follow that flow path, it goes kind of diagonally through backyards and to the railway and essentially it gets to the lake. So it's pretty important, and we're happy that Burton wants to pursue that. If you want to go back and go to, I don't know how much more description you want. I mean, we can go to the 200 sheets.
I think the stormwater's thing.
Yeah.
If you just walk us through the door specs and changes on
Okay.
on the building.
Sorry, come here. Can you go to like the 200 sheet? Burton. The overall, I mean, those are EPSC plans, but there's the overall 200. There you go. If that's visible. So it's essentially a very similar plan. We reconfigured the parking in this area to create some room for stormwater, and then because of taking away some parking here, so we're creating space there. The change from the previous is up here. We've added a little more impervious surface up here. That relates to the way this building was used. It was General Dynamics, and they used to drive trucks to this building, and that's just not the way it's used anymore. So the way the uses break out and having proximity for some additional parking and truck movements up here so that you don't have to drive through the building anymore. That's the impetus for this portion. And then we're adding a overhead door here and an actual depressed loading dock on this side of the building, the 266 building. Again, getting back to making this building a little more functional. And then, yes, changing items a little bit. This is something that was reviewed previously. There's a new curb cut here, which again was reviewed back in 2020. And as part of that, we also are removing one on this end, this corner, which is kind of a poor spot for one. All right, so those are most of the site changes. Again, I think it's primarily a stormwater improvement project as required under the requirements by the state. Usually have to drag my clients kicking and screaming to do this kind of work. So right. I'm pretty happy that Burton is on board. I can go through there's a couple of notes here from staff. Lot coverages, for some reason I didn't get those on the plan. We can correct that. We have a lighting plan and fixture cut sheets, illumination levels. Just had that Kurt just a few minutes ago, so he doesn't get that.
You know what the lot coverage is?
Yeah, honestly, I don't have.
Is there any change?
We're going we're adding about 3%, 3.4% to the southern block coverage. I think we're still well within the requirements.
And the other item was the open permits.
Yeah, I know Mike Falco, Casey, Burton is working on those, so he's working through those. So we have a couple items that we'll have to follow up and get cleaned up for that. Overhead door, I do have something for that. I'll give you a second one, Kurt, for that. There will be good quality doors. One thing that we haven't addressed is the screening requested for the loading dock area.
Can you show us where that is?
Yeah, so loading dock area is here.
Building.
Yeah, I'm assuming that's what you're referring to.
Switch here. So pictures and door specs. Keeps jingling. Not this one.
It keeps scrolling.
Yep, so this is basically, there's an overhead door here now, but it's going to be a depressed. So we're changing this to a ramp going down, and there'll be retaining walls on the sides. So I mean, you get rid of the fence, and you'll clean up this structure that's behind there. Is also being demolished, so it'll be a little cleaner in there, and you just get there'll be a newer door, similar door, actually a little lower, I think. But it'll be depressed 4 feet. So for screening, I'm assuming we're talking about. I mean, because it's depressed, it won't be that visible except primarily from straight on, I think. Is that what staff was thinking on that? But yeah, this is what's there right now. So that again, that door is what's being replaced with a depressed loading dock. So it'll actually be, if anything, less visible door. And of course, there's a bunch of cleanup that goes on here, and some of the buildings that are behind the fence that goes away. So. Transformer, of course, has to stay, but where you're coming in really right alongside where this bollard is. Yeah. So for screening, I mean, there's a little room for some plantings here and here, I suppose. I think we had some small trees scheduled for that side. We can add to those. Otherwise, I think we're talking about, it would have to be the corner, I guess. Because I think you barely see it from that corner. From that view, it'd be more to the left. Yeah. Because even right now that'd be. Oh, sorry, that's looking at 180 there, so it's over to the right. I'm sorry. Yeah.
So there's a few items missing in the staff report. And I think there's some additional information that you should probably provide before we make a decision on this.
Right.
So I'd like to make a motion to continue this to a date certain. Do we have room on our first May meeting?
I believe I might have been able to get it on for later. 21st, yeah, I think there was room on the April 21st agenda.
We'll make a motion, we continue this till the April 21st agenda so that you can document this. Some listening, and I think you probably wanna get some more clarity on what you're gonna do for screening and get the door specs and have it all in one package that we can approve.
Yeah, I think that'd be a good thing.
So I think what, instead of submitted to staff, so I'm gonna make a motion to continue this till the next meeting, which is April 21st. Second, Evan, all those in favor? Aye. You get that with the staff and put it all in the package together. Maybe say on for everybody's not out there. With that, we have no other items on our agenda this evening, and I will close the public hearing.